Hey, great day, y'all. Welcome back to the podcast. So, let's talk about why every therapist is actually not made to be an entrepreneur. Okay. So, I think that mental health therapists, because I'm one myself, licensed clinical psychologist, I think that we are asking the wrong questions when it comes down to entrepreneurship. So every week, because I'm on Instagram, I am tapping into Substack a little bit. I'm on YouTube. I'm on TikTok a little bit, but I see over across all these platforms questions like this. Should I open a private practice? Should I quit my job? When should I leave my job? Should I launch a course? What kind of course should I launch? How long should it be? How much should it be? Should I create passive income? Can I actually create passive income? What type of entity structure do I need? And so many more. But almost nobody is asking the question that actually comes first, which is, do you even want to be an entrepreneur? Because wanting more money, when you really think about it, and wanting to own a business are two completely different things. So I personally have spent the last decade helping therapists build businesses, not just do therapy, but build an actual business and operating system. I've also watched thousands of therapists force themselves into a business mindset that they actually never wanted, but sometimes it doesn't come out until something does not go as planned. And then they start questioning, should they have a private practice or is it for them? And that actually becomes a much stronger feeling and vibe to actually walk around with and to hold. So I do want to be clear about something. There is nothing wrong with loving your clinical work. This is where I think that you can think a little bit different, such as, somewhere along the way, as a therapist, we may have started to feel like staying a therapist or saying that we're only a therapist somehow means that we are not successful, that we are not ambitious, that we are not evolving. And I personally don't believe that. I believe that you can have the both and mentality, which is you can love money and love therapy. You can love your agency and want a private practice. You can love teaching and love hosting your own workshops and getting paid. You can love all of those. But if you are becoming an entrepreneur because Instagram or TikTok convinced you that everyone needs 7 streams of income, everyone can have 10, 15K months, not saying that you cannot. I think you're building from comparison instead of conviction. Okay. Now that's a powerful line right there. Bars. Okay. Now, when you actually think about the word entrepreneurship, it isn't you just show up, do your notes, and then you provide therapy and you bill, boom, you have a business. I want you to think about that being an entrepreneur isn't simply just seeing clients in a different capacity, like your own way, telehealth, or in your own office. Uh, it's learning an entirely different profession, similar to a new major. So I want you to imagine graduating with a psychology or a social worker or counseling degree and someone saying, great, now become an accountant. You're like, what? Like that is not what I went to school for. But that's what entrepreneurship feels like for a lot of therapists. Because think about it. I always say, like, how many hats are you wearing? This is one thing that we always talk about in our multi-day events, because one is coming up called the Align Streams of Income 5-Day Challenge. And I would highly recommend you check the show notes and that you save your spot. Because when you look at your hats that you're wearing throughout any given day, let alone any given week, you are in the marketing seat, leadership, sales, hiring, systems, money management, decision making, risk tolerance, time management, and none of anything that I just said are therapy skills. That's a whole nother skill set. So, as mental health providers, sometimes we expect more from ourselves than we expect from clients. Now, let me explain that. So, I want you to think about it from this perspective. Has anyone come into therapy and said, I've been having the same problem for, 5 years. I finally decided to go ahead and get help. And you have your consultation, you're a good fit. And then they say, actually, you know what? I'm not really ready to go all in. So they like the idea, the desire of what therapy can do for them. But when it comes down to building out the quote unquote system, the mindset work that it takes to actually get the results that they want, Nah, they avoid those difficult conversations. They would rather swallow however long they've been dealing with this problem and just walk around with it than actually release it. So, talking to enough therapists in CE workshops and my coaching and mentorship programs, live events, and online, I want to talk about what I actually think. This is my opinion based off all the collection of data that we have. I want to talk about what I actually think therapists want. So, I don't think therapists actually, all of them, want entrepreneurship. And that may not be you. But I think this is going to reach the masses in terms of what most therapists are seeking. They want what? Freedom, choice, control, flexibility, options, time to control their time. They want peace. They want to feel joy. An income that isn't dependent on burnout, meaning they don't have to work a whole lot of hours just to make ends meet. Those are different. Because when you think about business, it is simply one possible vehicle that therapists can get in to make a living. But it's not the destination. It's just simply a car. And that is a really important distinction because sometimes when we think about being a therapist, we literally look one lane, one-on-one therapy, and then we get exposed, or we remember some classes that we took around other modalities of therapy, like therapy groups. I've talked about that a lot, how to leverage your time, but mix it up a little bit, but you still stand in your lane. If you would like to get our therapy launcher group masterclass, go ahead and check out our store link below with all of our resources. But at the end of the day, you can either choose to put on your seatbelt and stay as only a therapist, or you can choose to get into various cars based on your business experience, your knowledge, your wisdom, and your years in the field. You can choose different vehicles with your same tax ID. You can go and do workshops and not need to full-fledged open up a whole nother entity structure of your business. You can do other types of clinical services under your same private practice. So here's the real question. Instead of asking, what stream of income should I create? I want you to start thinking deeper, like we ask our therapy clients to do, and ask, what kind of life am I trying to build? How do I want to feel? Because your stream of income should support your life. It shouldn't become a prison. Believe me, I used to work in the jails. You don't want your business to become a prison, okay? So what I would encourage you to do, because we always talk about various streams of income and earning more money, starting on August 10th, depending on when you're listening to this, over a 5-day period, 1 hour each, I am going to help you slow down long enough to answer a question that most therapists skip. Which stream of income actually fits the life that you're trying to build? Not the one social media told you to build or that looks easy. Not the one your colleague or your friend is building. Not the one that looks good on social media. The one that actually fits your strengths, your season of life, your family, your schedule, your energy, your long-term vision. These are all the things that we're going to be discussing and doing. It's going to be both thinking and doing inside that 5-day challenge. So I'm going to walk you through a similar assessment process that I use with our own coaching clients. We help them identify which stream of income actually makes sense for them before, honestly, they waste months, years, time, money building something that they don't even want to do, but they feel like they need to do it because that looks simple, or that's the only thing that maybe they know how to do. And here's the thing, we have to remember that we are students for life. Everything you learned in grad school doesn't translate over to business. So if you've been sitting on a whole lot of ideas, most therapists, we are, okay? And you're feeling overwhelmed by all the options, AKA too many options of your choice of where you should go next, or you're wondering, what should my next step be? I have exhausted all of my ideas. I think I know where I want to go, but how do I assess to make sure that I'm ready for it? I would love to have you join us for this 5-day challenge. Okay. So I'm going to put the registration link in the show notes. I want you to let me know, did you stumble inside of entrepreneurship or did you intentionally build your business? Let me know because I definitely intentionally stepped into private practice. I stumbled inside of group practice. I stumbled inside of teaching. I stumbled inside of streams of income like courses. And when I say I stumbled, it means that I had the gift for it. People were asking me about it. I was easily answering the questions or giving them the resources. And then people were just like, I'd pay you for this information. And that's literally how I started a lot of my streams of income, but it was already because the gift already existed inside of me, but I lacked the structure, which meant that for me, I personally don't like to waste time. I will go find money or take on a few extra hours or overtime somewhere in my old jobs to pay for something that's going to pay me dividends for the next 3 to 4 decades, not 3 to 4 years, 3 to 4 decades. So if you don't know where to start when it comes down to having a mental health business and adding streams of income that are aligned with where you are and who you are, I would highly recommend that you sign up for that 5-day challenge. It's going to be exciting and I will see you there. But talk back to me if you are listening to this on the audio podcast platforms only. Hop over to YouTube, find this episode, or DM me on Instagram and let me know your takeaway. Like, did you stumble into entrepreneurship? Or did you intentionally maneuver into the position that you're in now? I would love to hear from you, and I will talk to you on the next episode.